kingdom come.
Honored USSR figure skating coach Tatiana Tarasova responded to what she considers the highlight of 2025 for figure skating. The main event for figure skating in 2025 is the absolutely outstanding Russian Championships. It was in our beloved city, our beloved Yubileyny Stadium, with incredible skating that made me so happy. It was a pure pleasure to watch. Instead of giving up, how our coaches worked, how our athletes worked, and what a result they achieved, Tarasova said in a conversation with Championat correspondent Ilya Nikolnikov. And what should we wish for our figure skating in 2026 if we only had 2 people qualified for the Olympics? I wish for them to leave us alone, for them to stop disqualifying us for nothing. But in other countries, they don't even think about it, Tarasova said. Alexei Avdikin. It's sad when the idols we rooted for ruin their reputations. This text is part of a sports series summarizing not only the year but the first quarter of the 21st century. Rooting for your own is a fundamental part of the cultural code of any nation. If team sports without top tournaments could be saved by club projects, then most Olympic disciplines would attract only relatives and friends. In Russia, the trend of perceiving sports solely in the context of a confrontation between ours and theirs is especially relevant. It's easy to verify by the feelings and dynamics of how even the very gradual admission of Russians to world sports is reviving interest in many sports abandoned during the years of exclusion. Swimming, skiing, skating, gymnastics. Let's be honest, we watch the Olympics to root for our own. This is precisely what makes Russian viewers special. They root not for specific individuals, but for the flag next to their name. This pattern was even recognized at the state level, with the 2024 Paris Games not being shown on TV. There was zero outrage from viewers. Few are interested in an Olympics featuring 15 athletes from their own country, instead of the usual 300 or 400. Even those who are completely uninvolved in sports in Russia will follow the medal count and won't change the channel if the Russian flag is shown, even if it's the sportingly meaningless BRICS Games or the Universiade. But these same people lose interest in these same athletes if they see a neutral flag or, God forbid, the flag of another country for which they now compete. Our fans sincerely rejoiced at the victories of Korean short track speed skater On Hyun-soo, who was Russia's victor on for several years before and after the 2014 Sochi Games. But they're completely indifferent, at best, to the medals of swimmer Anastasia Kirpichnikova, who was born and lived in Russia for 2 decades, but now represents France. And that's also normal. It would be strange if it were the other way around. Patriotism in sport is probably the most sincere and natural of all its forms. I also rooted for Victor On and Vic Wild in Sochi 2014. I jumped after John Robert Holden's throw at Eurobasket 2007. I applauded every record Yelena Sinbayeva set. I admired Alina Zagitova's breakthrough in Pyeongchang 2018 and felt sorry for Kamila Valieva in Beijing 2022. I was sad when Stanislav Pozdnyakov lost the team semifinal to the Italians in Athens 2004. I rejoiced at Svetlana Zhurova's victory in Turin in 2006. As a child, I asked my parents why Vyacheslav Fedosov wasn't allowed to play in the NHL. I was proud of the dominance of Elena Vialb, Larissa Lazatina, and Lyubov Igorova in the 1990s. I waited for Alexander Zubkov to start making progress. I respected Alexander Bolshanov and his strength on the ski track. Everyone has hundreds of similar flashes of inspiration in their memories, sometimes joyful, sometimes bitter. Everyone has their own idol. Sport in Russia has always been the most logical and fair path to fame and universal adoration. But years later, it becomes important to understand who your idols were when they were competing, and who they became after their careers ended. What they spend their honestly earned moral capital, public love, trust, and recognition on. While they're in sports, we're used to idealizing them, attributing our own values to them. Believe in superpowers. Expect powerful deeds and gestures. Turn them into role models. Demand their best qualities: honesty, courage, fairness, independence, adequacy. Transfer their athletic qualities to the non-sporting world. In reality, these are ordinary people with their own weaknesses, fears, and complexes. And each has their own views on how to remain relevant and secure after sport. All the more disappointing is the lack of heroes in our Olympic sport who have organically and worthily found their place in the public sphere. Typically, these are rare cases that remain within the specific sport, coach, manager, media, but deserve special respect. For others, the choices between politics, trash talk, the acquisition of grants, or the seat of a wicked sports official. Some will be given the reins of a children's army, some will become constitutional experts, and some will create a political telegram channel out of words they've never spoken in their lives. Over the years, these illustrations have taught me to be more selective about the athletes I root for and whose successes I rejoice in. I wonder what they'll become after sport, what they'll say and do. Will I later feel embarrassed for one of them, for having respected them, for going to the stadium, for holding them up as role models for my children? It seems this is the very feeling that in psychology is called by the complex term anticipation. Other examples flash before my eyes: athletes about whom much becomes clear while they're still competing. But you stop rooting for them sooner, and their great victories evoke no emotion other than indifference. But for those who were once likable but didn't stand the test of fame or time, it's very sad. Of course, most former top athletes value their reputation and love their sport within themselves, finding comfort in their ordinary private lives with their families, children, and colleagues. But the loudest and most toxic ones are always heard. Everyone else is often judged by them, both in sports and after. My dream is for our top athletes not to ruin their reputations with politics, outrageous actions, and inappropriate words, that they would remember their younger selves more often and not lose sight of them, that they would always remain on the side of sports, athletes, truth, and common sense. There is nothing sadder than seeing great winners of the past transformed into pathetic and meaningless figures in the present. Over the past year, more than 50 Russians have received neutral status to participate in international Winter Olympic competitions. Mikhail Degtyarev, Minister of Sport and head of the Russian Olympic Committee, has published a video featuring the country's new Olympic mascot. The prototype bear mascot was unveiled in December 2025. In the new video, he is shown as a tennis player, a football player, a snowboarder, and a hockey player. We continue to introduce you to Russia's new Olympic mascot, Mishka. His image is a direct reference to the legendary mascot of the 1980 Moscow Games, one of the most famous and popular sports symbols in the world. The official mascot of the 1980 Moscow Olympic Games is not simply the Olympic Mishka. His full name is Mikhail Toptygin. This is how he was introduced in official materials. The bear was chosen following a competition announced by the Olympic Games Organizing Committee. The image that would later achieve worldwide fame was created by cartoonist Viktor Chizikov. One of the most important details of the image, the bell with rings, came to him in a dream. The bear became the first Olympic symbol to achieve truly widespread public recognition and massive commercial success. Toys, badges, and postcards sold in the millions. The closing ceremony of the Games, when the bear flew into the sky to music and the tears of the crowd, transformed the mascot into a cultural symbol of the era, extending far beyond sports. The new bear will be a worthy successor to its legendary ancestor, Degtyarev wrote on his Telegram channel.
Что серебряная медаль, что это что-то не то. Четвертому месту, возможно, обидней, чем второму.